Welcome to the Business Challenges podcast, brought to you by the West Country Business Show, where we empower businesses within the Southwest. Welcome to the Challenges podcast with me, your host, Ryan Trelaw, sponsored by the West Country Business Show. And today we have on the sofa Mr. Clive Kessell.
Good morning.
From really useful advice. To talk about everything mentorship today, Clive. So just initially, just tell us, for people that don't know, obviously I know you very well, but tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do as a business.
So mentoring, not to be confused with coaching. Okay. You know, I'm not going to tell you what to do because I'm a jack of no trades and a master of none. I'm not going to tell you what to do, show you how to do it, let you do it and then try and improve it, which is a great coaching model. Mentorship is really about having someone who's got a few grey hairs, probably made more mistakes than you have, who's connected well to a network of people that can actually, that have your back, that are there to support you. And more importantly, someone in a safe place that you can share ideas, concepts, maybe a business plan, but before you go public. And I think the most important thing is to make sure that that relationship is open, honest, and aware that sometimes the blunt truth is what's required.
Definitely. And I suppose it's also, having someone that's completely out of that fold, an outside voice to bounce ideas off. And because I'm in this circle and immersed in it, am I going the right direction or am I being ridiculous here? Am I seeing this completely wrong?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the important parts is that independent voice who you can actually put your own individual business plan to, and someone can look at it purely from the outside. But what if, how could, the shoulda, woulda, coulda.
Definitely. Well, we'll crack on with some questions, shall we?
I'm ready.
And see what the answers are, because I know the listeners will be eager to hear some of these questions are quite tasty on this side of things. So, what is the biggest issue you see with clients that come to you when running a business? And I know you speak to a lot of sort of smaller businesses, startup businesses, and that's really in their infancy as well. What are those issues?
I think, if we take it from the side hustle, someone who's got that concept idea, something they've always wanted to do, but they're not quite sure whether or not it will make sense in a business environment. And my answer to that for side hustlers is start now. Look at a minimum viable proposition or a minimum viable product. Spend as little as possible to be able to get that concept out. Test it, do your market research. Don't worry about the competition, because you're not competing against the competition, you're competing against the market. As those side hustlers then become solopreneurs or maybe join together as a duopreneur, and you end up into a small enterprise, there's always a tendency that you've got two voices then in a company instead of one. And that second voice will have a different opinion to you. So rather than you falling out with them and having to rub and create that abrasiveness within an organization, is that individually both of those people can come to me and have a conversation. And on occasion, you got to knock their heads together and actually see whether or not they're making sense. They've both got great ideas. I think the most important thing in business today is, let's not forget there's an individual in that business, an individual that's got a life, an individual that's got aspirations, an individual that wants something. And one of the things that I really start quite early with is, where do you see yourself in, as far out into the future as you can? I don't know, let's go 7 years, 9 years, something like that. So it's almost impossible to know what you're going to do, how you're going to do it, who you're going to do it with, and more importantly, why. But if you can imagine yourself in a place, look, feel, smell, the people that you're with, the sounds that are surrounding you, what are you eating? What are you doing? Are your feet bare? Are you next to a swimming pool? Or are you sat in a conference center? Or are you standing up on a TEDx? What is it that drives you to give you that meaningful purpose? I think once you can find out where the individual wants to go, you can treat it. We're based here in Cornwall, doing the recording here in the centre of Bodmin Moor. But let's treat it as a train journey. So let's say you're going to go from Edinburgh to Penzance, the longest train journey in the UK. God forbid, 12 hours and something minutes. But trains pause at stations naturally. So it's okay to stop, pause and reflect. With the ticketing system, sometimes you have to change seats. So if you're going to change seats, you're going to meet different people on that train and have different conversations than just staying in the same place and doing the same thing. It's also okay to go forward a few stations and then think, do you know what? I need some time to reflect. So I'm going to get off the train, go into a cafe, go into the town, explore the place that you've never been to before, and take some time to reflect before you race ahead too quickly. It's also okay to go over the railway line and go back a couple of stations. Go back. I didn't really finish what I started. There might be something there that I could have done better.
Yeah.
And then that might accelerate you through quite a few stations. And let's say that your dream comes true and you end up, at Penzance railway station.
God forbid.
The end of the line, yeah? But as you walk out of Penzance railway station, there's a sign that says ferries to the Cornwall Isles of Scilly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's always another destination we can go to, even if you've reached your ultimate goal. And we know if you get to the Isles of Scilly, you can always jump onto a yacht and you could go to the Mediterranean or the Adriatic or maybe even North Africa. So if you know where you're going and you've got a meaningful purpose, we can then find out whether the vehicle that you're currently in is ever going to get you there. And if it's not, like a train, you can add additional carriages. And those additional carriages might be able to accelerate you or have a team of people in each carriage that actually can help you to achieve that. So surround yourself by people that have got your back, head towards your journey of life, except there's times for reflection and also times to go back and do it properly.
What an analogy. I was there with you. I was there with you. So have you ever had a client that is actually on these adviceful tips and, ever disagreed with the advice that you've ever given?
Oh God, I hope so. Yeah. And often. Yeah. I probably have about 15 to 20 clients ongoing at any one time. And some of them have got some really amazing and incredible ideas. And some of the ideas are just really not very good. They've not thought it through. There's too much in that space. When you're looking at starting a business, you have to have a novel item. It doesn't have to be something that isn't already done, but it's got to be done in a novel way, in an innovative way, in a way that is separate, that stands you out from a crowd. And one of the books that I normally use in my sessions, I stole from my daughter. It was a selection of 5 books of different animals and birds, and it's a flamingo.
Okay.
And I used the flamingo because it's odd, it's pink, it stands on one leg, yeah? And any of the people listening to this, if you're ever having a bad day, find out what a collective noun of a flamingo is, and more importantly, go onto a YouTube and see a collective noun of flamingos doing a walk across a pond. Literally, you'll be singing "Staying Alive" by the Bee Gees. So stand out from a crowd by being a flamingo, if you like, but whatever your flamingo is, yeah? As evidence of that is I'm wearing one of my loud jackets.
I was going to mention it in a minute.
So whenever I go to a networking event or I have the opportunity to speak at a business event or go to the West Country Business Show, in July, is I will be standing out from a crowd. People will say, oh yeah, you need to speak to Clive. He's the guy with the loud jacket. There's a few people in our network, they're a bit shorter than me. They get lost in the crowd. So I say to them, put a pair of orange socks on, yellow socks on, bright, vibrant, electric blue socks on. Oh, he's the guy over there or the girl over there or the person over there that's got the socks. Yeah. So stand out from a crowd, be consistent so people know what they get. And actually, if you're a flamboyant and ambivalent character that actually lights up a room, prove it to them. Don't go in wearing a boot and a suit if it's not comfortable to you.
No.
If it's your sector and you want to be that professional person wearing a boot and a suit and a waistcoat, then fine. But how many other people look like that? Stand out from a crowd, be different. Therefore, when people come to you with an idea which you think won't work, it's not my job to tell them that it won't work.
Yeah.
It's my job to have a look at all the other opportunities that they might have to face. One of the things that I look at is turning your biggest constraint into your greatest advantage.
Okay.
And one of the ways to do that, let's use an example. There's a great book called A Beautiful Constraint. So it's available on Amazon. I don't get paid for it. It's
All
such a
good
shame.
bookstores.
And other good bookstores, correct. And they use things like, give me an example, Pizza Hut, yeah? Pizzas are round and cooked in a round oven. There's naturally gaps in between them. That's not the most efficient, economic, and effective way of cooking a pizza. So they redesigned the pizza oven to be square. They then launched and marketed the first ever square pizza, and they trademarked it. Now, with all of the people that have got gluten intolerance and all of those things about eating pastry, and you can go in there now and have a pizza without a dough.
Yeah.
And it's about £7.46. It is their most profitable line. So turn your biggest constraint into your greatest advantage and disrupt that market. Yeah, really go in there and try and see, how could I look at what this is in the marketplace, but in a slightly different way. So stand out from the crowd, accept you might be wrong, but if you really have a passion to make it work, find your constraint, turn it into an advantage, and jump on your train.
I think acceptance is the biggest one, isn't it? If you can accept you're wrong and move on and move forward with that, then obviously that's half the problem, half the issue.
And that's one of the reasons that you can have a mentor, to be able to discuss that in a safe place. You haven't gone out into the market and made that mistake. You've done it in a safe room, probably over a cup of coffee in a great hotel here around Cornwall, the southwest, right the way through to Torbay, Bristol and downwards. And you can just have a safe chat, throw an idea in. If it doesn't work and you accept it doesn't work, let's find something that does.
Okay. Well, the next one I was going to ask you, but I think we've actually covered this really, because I knew as soon as you started going, we'd be talking. The actual next question is: do you think transparency in leadership has limits?
Yeah, of course it does. But I think the most important thing in leadership, we could do an entire podcast on the difference between leadership and management. Leadership is literally making sure that the person with the right competency, the right expertise, skills, and experience takes the lead. There's a great thing, again, on the internet, have a search on whichever search engine you like, about how a pack of wolves work. They put the youngest to scout, they put the oldest at the front, so that actually the people that actually need to spend the time working out on what they do and how they do it are sat in the middle. So find the leader in your organization, or connect with a leader that can collaborate with you or assist with you. And don't be afraid of letting go the reins and giving that to someone else. And I think if there's one, let me give you an acronym of leadership for me. Be transparent in your communications. That will build respect and give you reputation. By being authentic, shows that you have integrity. And if you have integrity, you create trust. As soon as you have trust, you have sales.
Yeah.
You have a relationship. You can buy, you can sell, you can manage. But ultimately, find the leader that's best at leading at that time, and don't be afraid to give them the reins.
Definitely. And I think if you've got trust in a brand, you are more likely to purchase from them.
Yeah, and I think trust in a brand, and we know in your sector and also in mine, the referral while you're not in the room, the referral while you're sleeping, you know that your brand has gone further than you individually will ever be able to take it. I've won 3 clients in the last month purely by someone being in the room that has heard the problem that organization or individual is facing, and they've said, you need to speak to Clive. It's a safe place that you can have a conversation with, and he'll be able to help.
It gets things off your chest as well, doesn't it? So, that sort of well-being, instead of it all being in your head, if you've just got, just talking. That's why people go to therapy. It's therapy for business.
Yeah, it is therapy for business, non-coaching, mentorship in a safe place. I think I did an article earlier this year, which I was very fortunate to get published. And it was about how many mentors you need. You need more than me. There are 6, in my opinion, mentors that you need in your life. And the one could be a specialist. It could be an accountant, a tax advisor. Yeah. It could be a supplier of a specific widget that you want to make. It could also be an advocate, someone when you're not in the room has got your back and will speak for you. In addition to that, you can also have, and I think in my opinion, this is probably the best mentor to approach, I call it the polar mentor. Yeah. It's the person who you sit in a room and literally you're sticking pins in your eyes because they've got completely contrary views to you.
Yeah.
What you want to do is listen to those views, because there will be people in your market, in your business, in your customer base that won't talk the same language as you. No. So listen to what that person has to say, and then take it back and say, well, if we were in that situation, how would we approach? How would we sell to the person who is directly opposite to the person that I am? Yeah, we can look at all different types of leadership models. We can look at team building like Belbin, where you've got sort of the yellow creatives, you've got the green sort of soft and cuddly, you've got the blue, which are literally it's right or wrong, and you've got the red, which is cracking a whip and getting stuff done. And we've got the purple, which are people that can literally go out and have one-to-many relationships. And then you've got other people, which is like they've got a really close-knit group of probably 3 people that will only ever be in their confidence.
Yeah.
So surround yourself by people that have got contrary views, that have got your back, that are a specialist. And more importantly, I think anyone in a small enterprise, whether that be social enterprise, commercial enterprise, or general business, is try and find someone that actually can look after your well-being. Your mental and physical health is probably the most important thing to get into balance. I call it the balance mentor. You know, imagine yourself, I don't know, going out into a massive bay and the tide is turning away from you. There's no flotation device and you're treading water, and it's mentally and physically fatiguing, and you're really losing hope. What we need to do is to be able to create this magical thing called hope, is that the tide is going to turn. You might be able to grab onto something that floats, and you then have that hope that you're going to get to that destination. And when you get there, you've learned that next time you go into that situation, get yourself some hope and grab onto something that you can float.
If only you could find a company that ran, I don't know, a well-being show.
Yeah, it'd be very useful. There's a couple of companies that come to mind, but there's one doing some amazing stuff in July.
And also back onto the sales and stuff side of things as well. Like you said, there's different people, different personalities, different buying personas that people have. So you're not going, like you said, you're not going to always sell as an individual your product, your wares to another individual, because they, like you say, contrasting views. They might be analytical. They might need to see all the information. They might be sort of a maverick and take risks. And that person, I suppose, would be easier to sell to. But ultimately, if you've got everything in your armory, all the information, that analytical person that needs everything down on a spreadsheet and all the information, you know, then they will purchase off you. But, you know, it's going to take a bit more time, you know, probably. And
maybe a different approach.
Different approach.
An accountant and a solicitor is a different pitch as your avatar than it would be on an inventor and a creative. It might be very different for someone who is used to marketing and selling their goods in the public domain versus someone that actually just wants to get their idea out to understand whether people really need it and and then take the feedback. My product going out to your market may be what I think you should use it for. But so many times people come back and they go, actually, I never thought, but actually, could you just modify that because it could go into this sector? So be open to customers, suppliers, even your own teams. You know, have open discussions in your team so they can feed in ideas. I remember many, many years ago, I was working for an industrial minerals company, moving stuff all over the world. And we had these specialist consultants coming from a company that will remain nameless. And one of the things that we had these continuous performance improvements teams put together. So someone from accounts, someone from supply chain, someone from sales, someone from production, someone from maybe technology and research. And we spent 3-6 weeks just trying to hammer out this solution to a problem. And in the end, I turned around to them. I said, look, let's go down to where this problem is and ask the person that deals with it on a day-to-day basis. They were the lowest paid. They were the gruntiest person you could ever hope to meet, leaning up against the wall, probably with a pasty in their pasty warmer. And ask that person. We love them. Oh yeah, pasty warmers are amazing. Yeah, okay. Sometimes you just put it in your pocket and there's a pasty warmer. But ask the people that are literally facing you on the front line what their thoughts are. Some of the things that they've been thinking about day in, day out, shift in, shift out, morning, noon, and night. Might be that one golden idea of something, of a concept that you can take back. In the example that I used, we asked that person, they gave us an idea, and literally, instead of spending, I think, £2.3 million, we spent £200,000, and we turned around the activity in a third of the time. We were 300% more effective, efficient, and economic. And what do? We then reward that individual. Yeah, we gave him a new pasty warmer.
Lovely present. It's my birthday today, Clive. I mean,
is it your birthday?
Yeah, I was
many happy returns.
A pasty warmer would be great.
Great. I'll keep a pocket open for you.
Yeah. Next one. How do you decide when to prioritise business interests over personal relationships?
Well, don't is my answer to that. We are a part of lots. Yeah, we've got nature, nurture, institutions, academic and commercial, relationships that we've had, some that went well, some that didn't go well, but we learned from them. Yeah. And as a result, we've become this thing, which is almost like a stick of rock that's got like Ryan Trelaw going through it or Clive Kessell going down through it. All of the decisions that we make today are based upon the historical events that we've undertaken. And to prove that, and this is going to mess with lots of people's heads, is try and think about the next thing you're going to think about. Literally, your mind's going to go blank. And that's because trying to forecast into the future what it is that we want to achieve is always going to be based upon what did I do in the past and how did I do it in the past? Like Rudyard Kipling, I surround myself by 5 friends: the who, the what, the why, the when, the where, and the how. So if all of our decisions are going to be based upon historical events, activities, and relationships, then we've got to surround ourselves by different people than we've been used to when we're coming up with new ideas to launch into the market. So as a result of that, to try and get the balance then between what I want to do versus what I've done in the past, we end up then with a business plan, a direction, something that we want to achieve. We also know we've got a personal life. We might have children. We might be married. We might have had a divorce. We might have ended up in a situation where we play golf, play musical instruments like I do, dress up as Elf, as I'm going to be doing in a couple of weeks' time.
I did see that.
Have something that is personal to you that you really enjoy. And I would say, rather than try and have the conflict between your business life and your personal life, is live in this beautiful moment that we're in now, make the best of every day. And I think more importantly, be the person that you want to be and shout about it, because we all have a tendency to try and be someone else and compare ourselves. We're unique individuals, every single one of us. If we need different people around us, surround yourself by people with different views, as we've discussed already. But most importantly, if there's one thing that gives you enjoyment more than anything else, go and do it. That spreadsheet, that sale, that email, that text, it isn't that urgent. Final thing is obviously to be able to balance that against achieving your goals. And just make sure that they're realistic, they're timely, they're measurable. And more importantly, maybe a mentor makes you accountable by coming in on a monthly basis and going, have you done that yet?
Okay, so what do you think your best piece of advice for the listeners are? Your best piece of business advice?
Start before you're ready.
Okay.
Because most people wait to be like 95% sure that their concept's going to work. Go out there and trial it. You've got nothing to lose. More importantly, at the other end of it, don't give up too early. Because so many people have got this fantastic idea and it's really hard work in the first 3 years of business. The first 3 months, I got this concept, everyone said they want it, no one's buying from me. I think two really to sort of front end and back end, like an accordion, like a squeeze box.
Okay.
Start before you're ready. Check your minimum viable proposition, your minimum viable product. Do some market research. Test that people want the product or item or service that you're going to give. And then don't give up too early. Just make sure you've got enough cash flow, not turnover, enough cash flow to be able to get you through those bumps in the road. Don't forget.
Important.
It is. It's relatively simple. But if you've got an idea as a side hustler or an entrepreneur and you've got partners, friends, or someone that's been saying to you, why don't you do this? Start. It's the only way you'll ever find out whether it works.
Amazing. Well, thank you. I've been Ryan Trelaw. He's been Clive Kessell. And this has been the Challengers podcast brought to you by the West Country Business Show.